at leveraging multiple CPUs or GPUs, however way you want to call it, for the best rendering practice in your company. I'm just going to be closing this poll right now, and I'm going to share the results with you at the end. So let me just show my screen right now. There we go. So today I've got on the on my staff Brian Russell from BRIGHT. He's out in Baltimore. We've got Monica Teneva. She's out in Bulgaria, as well as Ivor Stoikov, who's also going to be presenting today with me, who's going to give us some insight on best practice for multiple CPUs. If you have any questions, please just use the go-to panel to ask the question. This webinar is being recorded, so we will post it to our YouTube channel later if you do want to share that with your colleagues who are not able to attend the presentation today. So let's get started right now. So this is a bit of a technical topic today. I'm just unmute my colleagues here. Hey, sorry guys, I had you all unmute. Brian and Ivor, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I had you guys on mute for the last minute there. So let me go through our introduction, and I'll pass the mic over to you, Ivor, to get started on the on your presentation. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a very technical topic. You know, if you do need help in setting up a multi-CPU rendering farm, you know, you can get in contact with SolidCAD. We do have in-house experts who can assist you with it. I did borrow this image from IKEA, so it's you know, if you do need some help, you can always, you know, give us a call, and we're happy to assist you through Solid Assist technical support. But if you need something a little more elaborate, you know, we can come on site and help you build a more optimized rendering farm. Let me just maximize that. So by all means, you can always try setting up your own renderer farm. It is a bit complicated sometimes, but they can also be very simple in nature as well. So don't be discouraged by how technical this topic might be. We'll show you how to really set it up and use BRIGHT to optimize your rendering speeds in the company. Quick overview about our company, SolidCAD. And we are part of the Cancel family, and we kind of are under this national brand across Canada, so you have a lot of support. SolidCAD, we're located here in Ontario, and we kind of only service the Ontario province. Aside from Autodesk software and V-Ray software, we also do hardware through our parent company, Cancel. So printers, plotters, medias that you need, surveying equipment as well. We do provide services around the surveying equipment, so if you do need as-built laser scan buildings into AutoCAD or REVIT deliverables, we are able to get that to you. We are an Autodesk training center and authorized in AC, manufacturing, and E&I, so engineering, natural resources, and civil. We've been around for quite some time. If you haven't realized already, we do have the biggest technical team in Canada. We are able to provide with sales training, technical support, consulting services, programming, and hardware support as well. Our BIM services expand into multiple branches, including the software deployment, customization and optimizations with programming, basically workload development, engineering, content creation if you want to take some manufacturing catalogs and bring them into a BIM spec, model authoring if you want us to develop a LOD 300, 400 plus model for construction or fabrication. We have those in-house staff to be able to conduct those services. And if you don't know already, with all the products that we sell, we do provide full technical support. So please give us a call. This number is simple enough as 1-877-GET-CAD1 or 438-2231, extension 2, and you'll be able to get any of our staff on support. If you're a customer of our company, again, you have a complimentary tech workflow process and assessment. We basically come in, are able to review how you're working and how we can develop a better workflow to fit your business needs. And again, some of the people on our technical staff, on the AEC side alone, we've got Kathy, Peter, Patrick and Jay, as well as Chris, and a few others. A quick reminder, we do have the Canada Ontario Job Grant, so if you did want to do any training or any advanced training or implementation services, you're able to get it covered under the COJG program up to 83% if you're a small company of 25 or under, or 66% if you're a larger company. Please give us a call. This has been a very, very popular program, and it has been a great way to subsidize your staff training and get your company to the next level. Quick reminder about our e-store. If you did want to submit a request for a V-Rate for REVIT 30-day trial, just head over there to submit a $0 purchase to get that trial request, and we'll email it to you the next day. We did have that V-Rate for REVIT promo, save 10% using the V-Rate REVIT 10 discount code. Just enter it at the bottom left corner on your checkout. It's still available until January 31st. If you need any additional information, just get in contact with me or anyone else in the company, and we'll be happy to help you. So let's get started with the third part of our webinar series. I'm going to pass the mic over to Yvor right now and make you presenter.
Okay.
And you are good to go, sir.
Just to set my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So, in today's session, we'll talk about how to use all our resources, or how to leverage our resources with V-Ray using distributed rendering in 3ds Max or Swarm in REVIT, SKETCHUP, and RHINO. Swarm is new technology for rendering management. We start with REVIT, and we'll implement this in V-Ray for SKETCHUP and RHINO. Quick overview, guys. I'll start with what is distributed rendering, why do we need it, then I'll explain step by step how to set distributed rendering in 3ds Max using only V-Ray DR, then using a simple render manager. It's free, BACKBURNER from Autodesk, and of course we can use professional render management system for huge scale render farms. And I'll talk about Swarm and how we can use it. So, what is the DR? DR stands for distributed rendering. It's based on local network and make use all the hardware available in our office. Of course, you don't need to transfer your assets to the network outside. Everything is in the house. The DR is based on splitting the whole rendering process to simple regions or buckets to different machines, and in this case you can utilize effectively all the hardware and the software resources available, of course. The DR supports production with bucket rendering or progressive, and RT rendering based on CPU or GPU. So the big question, why do we need this? And the first and the most important thing is the speed. You can get fast results and feedback on huge scenes with large resolution. Then using DR, you can speed up your process, not only using your machine, but using all available hardware. It's cost effective because you use all this available hardware in your office to the maximum. It's workflow effective because you spend less time waiting and maximize your productivity. You don't have to wait, you can do anything else. Design, develop, anything. And of course the control over quality. You have instant feedback. You can constantly manage all available resources. And all this is in-house. I'll start with 3ds Max. And for the intro, let's talk about some basic terms. When I say workstation, that means the computer that's from which the rendering is started. And in this case, this will be the licenses holder. The render node is a computer that is used only to perform a rendering job. Licenses that are required for this, for the workstation, this is one workstation license, mean one graphic interface license. That means you can see the V-Ray inside the software, and one render node license. You can render with V-Ray. For the render node license, you have use this only for rendering. You can't manage anything only with render node license. And of course, third-party software. I'll show you how to use Autodesk BACKBURNER. It's free manager, but very basic, of course. And professional render manager, for example, Deadline. So, let's talk about the infrastructure. In all offices we have workstations, and for the workstation, this is the machines for designers, whatever. We can use the infrastructure in our office based on our co-workers' workstation. That means that we can set distributed rendering using, for example, in the nighttime to start a job or a set of jobs in the nighttime, and in the morning the job will be finished. Or you can build specific render farms only for the rendering part. So this is important because if you have resources, you can build your own render farm. In other case, you can use the infrastructure in the office. The job, the rendering, is sent from the workstation to the render node, or to the render node that refers to the render farm or the co-workers workstation. This render node receives the information from the workstation and process and send back the result all the time, as buckets or progressively, and you collect all the result and the rendering job is finished. For example, if you're working on one workstation, the rendering job is very slow. Then you send requests to different types of render nodes based on, you can use the resources based on CPU or GPU, and in this case your performance will be increased enormously. Now I will start with 3ds Max and how to use V-Ray DR in 3ds Max. Everything starts with installing part, so all the computers have to have 3ds Max, the same version, the workstation and the render nodes. Then you can download from our website the V-Ray installer and run it as administrator. Now for the workstation, you can use this radio button here, workstation. That means that V-Ray will install everything. Workstation, render nodes, all available for working. And for the render node, you have to install V-Ray only as a render slave, only this render node license. Not license, the information for the rendering part. When you install this on the workstation, for the render node, you have to customize the license to get the valid license from the workstation. In this case, the workstation holds all the licenses for the render farm, for the distribution rendering. And everything is finished. When we make a DR, there's 3 scenarios. You can use DR in 3ds Max. It's very simple way. You don't need any additional software. You can use BACKBURNER, a simple render manager, or additional render manager, for example, Deadline. Now let's talk about DR in 3ds Max. As I mentioned, you don't need any additional software, and it's really easy to set and manage the resources. First of all, when you have installed all this workstation installation and the render slave, you have to launch the V-Ray DR spawner. The DR spawner is a specific software that makes the connection from the workstation to the render nodes to communicate to each other. You can run this DR spawner every time, or you can set the DR spawner as a service. And when you start your computer, the Windows, this service will start automatically. To turn the DR distributed rendering on is very simple. It's a checkbox in the render setting. We just turn the DR on and set the servers, the render slaves that holds the render nodes licenses. We add all available render nodes, and this is we'll talk about this in a minute. It's good to load every single machine that holds render node license in the beginning, and then just to check or uncheck the different render nodes. Now here in this window for distributed rendering, we have very interesting options. The first is transfer missing assets, and this feature is for, as I told about that DR is based on local network. it's very important that all machines have to see your assets and your scene. But if there's some mistake or whatever with transfer missing assets, when you start rendering, V-Ray will check every single assets, textures, proxies, geometry, everything, and if anything missing on some machines, it will be transferred this automatically and we'll load this on the RAM. The next option is use localhost. If you uncheck this and start rendering, you can continue working with something else because all the resources on your own machine, on the workstation, will be free. And just start render. And that's all. Another very cool and helpful feature is adding render nodes on the fly. As I mentioned, it's good to load in the beginning all render nodes and just check or uncheck them after this. What this means is that when you start render process, you can't add or remove render nodes during the rendering process. This example is with stereoscopic image. You know that it's twice larger than usual image, and it's very good example for using DR. During the rendering, I can check all my resources, all the hardware I have in the rendering process. It's very good to use this specific render element. It's called DR render element, and this render element shows us with different color the different buckets from every render nodes. It's very good for debugging purpose, because if you see some different buckets or black buckets, you can easily check from which machine caused this black or wrong bucket, and you have to check this machine. Maybe something is wrong with it. Another interesting and time-saving feature is that the light cache, the GI, the global illumination in our scene, is distributed, and this will extremely fasten our process. For example, with a single render node, the calculation of the light cache takes 30 minutes. With two render nodes, it takes only 5 minutes. And that's all. It's very simple to set DR in 3ds Max without anything else, and it's very easy to use it. The most important thing is to install the software, the spawner, the connection between the render node and the workstation, and then to check and uncheck different render nodes. Of course, you can use BACKBURNER. It's free. It came with the installation of 3ds Max, but it's very simple, very simple render manager. You have to install the BACKBURNER. The BACKBURNER has a manager. You have to set this manager, Then on the render node, you have to start the server and connect the servers to the manager to communicate with each other. You have to start the monitor. In this monitor, you can see the queue of any single job. If you set different jobs, you can manage them here in the monitor and connect the monitor to the manager. Then you have only to submit network rendering, name your job, and submit. And then you can manage everything from here, from the monitor. And of course, you can use a professional render manager like Deadline, for example. And V-Ray is very good integrated into this render manager. It's more complicated, but very, very powerful. Of course, you can manage everything from here. Just create your job, name it, set all the machines you want. You can navigate to the 3ds Max file and render even the animation sequence of images. I will not go in detail using Deadline. And now I will finish this section with a comparison, this simple comparison with single machine and using DR with different number of render nodes. Just a moment. So this is the rendering process only with a single machine, with your own workstation. And when you render a high-resolution image, in this case with a lot of additional effects like depth of field, SSS, everything, this process can take a very long time. This image is rendered in half an hour, approximately. Using another 5 render nodes, that means all of them are 6, you can speed up your process. Let's use another 5 render nodes, and it's very clearly to see the speed of the rendering. And now the new part, this new technology called V-Ray Swarm. V-Ray Swarm is built-in V-Ray manager and monitor for the DR process. We launch this new technology with V-Ray for REVIT, but very soon when we launch V-Ray 3 for SKETCHUP and RHINO, the swarm will be included in the package. The advantages of the swarm are a lot. It's very smart, and swarm communicate with each and every machine all the time, constantly monitoring everything in your system. Swarm will show you every single machine that have a license, proper license for rendering. Swarm will automatically profiles your machine based on GPU or the CPU. If your machine don't have enough memory, for example, Swarm will ignore this in the case of crash. Swarm will automatically install the correct version of V-Ray. If you have different products with different V-Ray installation, Swarm will automatically copy and install the proper V-Ray version. Swarm is very powerful, but the interface is very simple. It's only with slider. And you can use tags for different render jobs, or to split the rendering to different teams, for example. What you need to use Swarm is to install REVIT, SKETCHUP or RHINO on the workstation only. In this case, you don't need to have V-Ray or SKETCHUP or RHINO installed on your render nodes. Of course, you have to install V-Ray on both on the workstation or render node. And in the installation, Swarm will automatically detect which version of REVIT, SKETCHUP or RHINO you have, and this version will be checked. This is for the workstation. For the render node, and if you don't have this software installed, you have to install only V-Ray Swarm. You can use for the workstation, the workstation is a license holder, so you can use V-Ray license for this machine, for the workstation. For the render nodes, you have to customize this and just to type in the workstation IP, or if you have a license server, you have to type in the license server IP. And the next steps is REVIT will be installed. V-Ray for REVIT will be installed on the workstation, and V-Ray Swarm will be installed on both workstation and render node. Okay, let's see how Swarm works. So you have tags. You can use these tags. High resolution, high quality, and we start the rendering process. And only with this slider, Swarm will see every single machine with license, and will put these machines automatically in this render job. You can control the rendering resource only with the sliders, and progressively they will be up or removed from the rendering purpose. Now, how to enable swarm? It's very easy. In V-Ray, you will find swarm in render section of the ribbon. In SKETCHUP and RHINO, you'll see this in this new centralized and simplified interface in the settings section. The settings of swarm are the same in REVIT, SKETCHUP and RHINO. It depends only on the interface of the platform. So here in REVIT, the swarm settings are divided into pieces. The first is network discovery. By default, it's set to multicast, and this is if you have different, not only one, but different networks in your company. For example, first floor network, second floor network, and so on. If you have only one network, local network, you can set to broadcast. And the next section, this list with tags, it's very helpful to organize your machines to be used by the workers or co-workers. For example, I can, if I have 9 machines and 3 of them I call them 3D, 3 of them I call 3A, and 3 of them I call 3C. It's very easy to set the designer to use only 1 tag or 2 tags, or all these 3 tags to use different number of machines. In SKETCHUP and RHINO, it's the same. As I mentioned, Swarm is very smart monitoring and management system. It's web-based. You can access the Swarm with these funny buttons, like render farm, and this is Swarm itself. You can arrange all your machine by tags, by hostname, by V-Ray version. And for example, I have all these machines. Here are the settings of V-Ray Swarm, or a different level of controlling V-Ray Swarm. The first is lock. This is the V-Ray lock in the Swarm, so you can see at any time V-Ray is loading what assets, V-Ray is rendering which scene, and so on. The next is to resource monitoring. You can see per machine, per render node, the resource that Swarm takes based on GPU, CPU, memory, network, or storage. Here the versions of V-Ray Swarm and V-Ray itself. For example, here I have 2 versions. If you have REVIT, SKETCHUP, and RHINO, you will have 3 different versions of V-Ray, and Swarm hold these versions. With this configuration window, you can configure and plan your own rendering process. That means that I can use another tag, or I can install different version from here, save it, then select different machine and copy this configuration to all of them. And that's all. It's very easy, very simple. It's based only on slider, and the good thing in Swarm is that Swarm not only use the whole machine, Swarm will use the CPUs itself. This means that one machine can do two different jobs. Half of the CPUs to render one project or one image, and the other half to render another. Swarm will use 100% of everything available every time. Now let's see all this in a short video. Starting Swarm with 100% of all available resources. As you can see, Swarm will see the render nodes and the CPUs itself. You can see every single machine resource. And it's obviously that the rendering process is optimized and it's faster than using only one machine. And here is a very interesting thing, cross-platform usage of V-Ray in 3ds Max and V-Ray in REVIT SKETCHUP RHINO. If you have built-in render farm or use your co-workers' machines, you have to have render nodes installed on all this machine. And the good thing is that the render node license is universal for 3ds Max, V-Ray for 3ds Max, V-Ray 3 for REVIT, SKETCHUP and RHINO. And this is good because you can share all this resource of the render farm both to 3ds Max or with REVIT now or with Swarm. For example, the 3ds Max workstation want to start a job. This is the job request, and that the job process is starting using everything available. But in some point, the other designer that use REVIT, SKETCHUP or RHINO want to render his own image. Here starts job request, and then it's very easy on the fly. The 3ds Max user, 3ds Max designer, on the fly to remove some of the render nodes, and then automatically Swarm will see this and will connect every available CPU, not only render nodes like machine, but every available CPU to this second render job. And then when the render of the 3ds Max user is finished and the second part of the render nodes are free, automatically Swarm will add them to the job. And in the end of the day, everybody is happy. The render is finished in less time. So, guys, with this my presentation will be finished. Just be sure to take a look to our YouTube channel, Chaos Group TV. It's a very interesting hub for customers. We have our own videos with short tutorials. Everything is product list based. And give a try to Chaos Group Labs, our R&D center, because just today we published this new article, Understanding V-Ray Swarm. It's very helpful to read this. And of course, join the V-Ray community and request your copy at done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to open up the questions here at the end. We had one, someone asking about gaming cards. Brian and I were talking about this earlier in the presentation. What I'm seeing today is a lot of IT managers are asking what are the best graphic cards to spec into a system. The two that we see very often are the NVIDIA Quadro line and then the NVIDIA GeForce cards that are getting spec'd. And the question is, do you get a better performance with a CAD workstation GPU or a gaming card type GPU?
Gavor, I can take a stab at this. This is Brian. Just really quickly, I think one of the benefits to the right now with the latest iterations of the NVIDIA chipsets, the gaming cards seem to have, the high-end gaming cards, let me qualify that, seem to have a bit of an advantage in performance initially. The workstation class cards, the Quadro class cards, for instance, tend to have better memory architecture and more stability long term. So there are benefits, there are pros and cons to both, but certainly as long as it's CUDA enabled, it'll work. So that won't be an issue for us. One more note here is that on the GPU side of things, you don't have to run, if you've got dual graphics cards, you don't have to run SLI. As long as they're in the machine, V-Ray will find them and make use of them. And you can actually select which card you would prefer to use. Getting to Diego's question earlier about gaming machines being better for rendering, on the CPU side, most gaming machines tend to have higher rated CPUs and multi-core CPUs, and that's excellent for CPU rendering. The more cores that are available to V-Ray, the better results we're going to get, faster results we're going to get in general CPU-based rendering.
Do you think that the more value should be put on, I guess, the CPU or the GPU? I'm thinking more of the GPU, of course, because you're dealing with high-end graphics here, but even when you said that dual cards don't necessarily give you the best performance compared to a higher-end GPU, single card, where's the best value then? Where's like that perfect balance?
I wish there were a silver bullet to this. Unfortunately, we don't have.